out there. Spread a little aloha around the world. At breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome back, everybody. Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. This is our Nice World Championship edition. We are brought to you by HOKA Fly Human Fly, Master Spas, Precision Fueling and Hydration, Deboer Wetsuits, Outrigger, Kona Resort and Spa, Stay Longer, Save More, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, coming off a really impressive third place at Ironman New Zealand this year, Mr. Jack Moody joins us. Jack, how you doing, bud?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me along.
It's always a pleasure. And have you been in Europe training for a while?
Yeah, I have been here since June. So I came over here and did Challenge Roth, and then I did 70.3 in Hardaskrolos, and just kind of bouncing around Europe and dodging the New Zealand winter and having a good time over here and getting ready for Nice and next week. And then it's home back to New Zealand, and hopefully the weather's a bit warmer.
The hard part when you're from New Zealand, Australia, it's not like you can go somewhere for the weekend and race and come back home. If you're going to Europe or the US, it's a commitment.
Oh, yeah. Emptying the bank account and on the road out of a suitcase.
Yeah. How hard has that been for you?
It has been tough. Like, this has been probably the longest I've been based in Europe. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting back to my own bed. I've kind of lost count how many beds we've bounced around over the last few months, but I do love it. Like, we've been to some incredible places this year to go and train and race, and the whole atmosphere and environment's been amazing, but there's no place like home.
So was this Challenge Roth, that was the first time you'd done Challenge Roth?
It was, yes. Yeah. And
what'd you think?
Incredible experience. Just triathlon on steroids, just how enormous it is. Yeah.
When I look at that race, I'm looking, 240 run, 53-minute swim. I'm going, that's great. 421. I'm going, something happened there. What was going on?
Yeah.
Like?
Had a bit of a rough day. I ended up a bit ill going in, unfortunately, with a bit of a stomach bug. So I rallied, but yeah, it wasn't the day I was hoping for, and it was a bit of a rough start to the European trip. Thankfully better now, but yeah, lessons learned, and yeah, I'd like to go back and do that race justice in the future.
Well, when you have a stomach issue and you're still running a 240 marathon off the bike, you have to come away with some positives, because that's when you're not feeling good and running fast is pretty tough.
Yeah, I think we looked at the Training Peaks file. There's about 5 minutes spent in the porta potty, so I managed to give them all a good visit.
And the year before, we look at 2024, you get 4 wins, right? You get 4 wins that year. So do you look at that as maybe your best year in the sport right now?
It's all progress. It's all learning. Last year, I sort of targeted doing the Challenge Series, and then this year, the big goal was to have a good crack at Ironman New Zealand, and managed to qualify for World Champs over here in Nice, and that's been the big focus this year. So it's kind of, I don't know, like any athlete, setting a goal each year and trying to reach that goal. Yeah.
So background, we're talking New Zealand, Auckland-based, high school national titles, 2,000 meter, 3,000 meter steeplechase. When we look back at a lot of the athletes who've been in our sport, water polo, steeplechase, they come from tough. They come from really tough events. Talk a little about steeple and what people might not know about how brutal that is.
Yeah, it's just broken rhythm running at the end of the day. So, it's been a long time. I don't think I've run a steeple in about 15 plus years once I transitioned into triathlon. But yeah, it taught me a lot of lessons, and it was a cool way to sort of sink my teeth into track and field in New Zealand. And yeah, it's cool to walk away with national titles in that discipline, but it wasn't forever for me. And it was, I think a natural progression. I loved cycling as well. So to come away and start doing triathlon sort of in my early 20s and sort of just gone from there, essentially.
You studied mechanical engineering. When you tell your folks, okay, I've studied mechanical engineering, I'm going to go travel the world and swim, bike, and run. Well, what's the response there?
It was met very warmly. Like, both my parents have had, done their own things as well in life, and we're not with huge formal education, but I was the first of 4 boys. I'm the eldest of 4, so it was, I think, quite alarming that the first child was going to go and study for 4 years. Only lasted working 2 years in the workforce, or 3 years maybe, and then to go and sort of drop everything and take up triathlon at a competitive level, and try and make a career out of it. They've been incredibly supportive, and And yeah, it's just see how long we can do it for, essentially. It's nice to that I can always go back to engineering, albeit I might be pretty rusty now. It's been about 8 years, but it's cool to have something to fall back on.
So 2016, you guys was a challenge. You guys go to Rotorua and finish 5th behind Javier Gomez.
Yeah. He was out probably on his like Christmas lunch run, but it was cool that your first ever sort of triathlon, like, half Ironman distance race. You've got one of the greats on the start line. It's very much a local race. Like, you line up your bikes on the grass field in the morning of the race, and you can park them anywhere you want. It's classic New Zealand grassroots racing. I think the finish line medal is a bottle opener. So it's a pretty awesome, it's an awesome event, and it's like a kind of a great way to get started in the sport in New Zealand with a not so serious half Ironman, where you can kind of just learn what it's all about and then take it from there.
I remember we were there for Topa, and we went over to Rotorua, and I'm like, there's that sort of a grass amphitheater, and I'm like, I think this is where the triathlon is.
Yeah, and there is. There's that, and the off-road racing's there as well. So
yes, there's great trails.
Yeah,
great trails right there. We love that. That was really, really cool. So after you finished, was that when you started thinking, when you finished 5th behind Javier Gomez, doesn't matter how far ahead he is, you're like, oh, maybe I should focus on this?
I was still a terrible swimmer, so I went and tried my hand at exterior racing for a while. So I went off-road and did that for a little while, just still working, and just enjoyed the process of having something else to do outside of the working world, something to train for and keep me motivated. And then, once I started doing a few more half Ironmans and realized, I think I won the age group race overall in my first go at Topol, 70.3. And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is a possibility to, take sport more seriously and look to get a coach at this point. And then I had a friend sort of point me in the right direction. And next thing I know, I was a professional, which was really cool.
Well, in 2008, as an age grouper, I'm thinking 2018 qualified for Xterra Worlds and Kona. That's pretty impressive.
Yes. Yeah, I chose not to go to Kona. I took my profession. So that was my last race as an amateur. It was Ironman New Zealand in 2018. So had a good day in Taupo, and then didn't like the Ironman distance. Vowed I'd never do one again.
Did you really?
Yeah, and so decided, come a long way, decided I'd go and be a professional and just race 70.3 instead. But how times have changed, and here we are lining up for Ironman World Champs.
Well, not just any Ironman World Champs, but we're talking Nice with 8,000 feet of climbing, and there's lots of pretty hairy descents. What does this course suit you in terms of the bike?
I mean, I'm small and I'm light, so yes, I'm not going to have to push as much power as the big boys going up the hill, but what goes up must come down. I don't know, I think the Europeans are always going to have an advantage. They're just used to the complexity of the European roads, the sort of old school, tight, twisty roads. And saying that, we've got some pretty rubbish roads in New Zealand, so we get used to being on edge. But definitely looking forward to the challenge, and I'm sure everyone else is as well.
So after Nice, is that this? You have to go home, and is the season over? Or then you prepare for 70.3 Worlds.
The triathlon season will be done for me when I'm finished in Nice. It'll be time for a bit of a break. I've started racing in January this year, so
a long season.
Yeah, because we have to race. Well, we don't have to, but I love to race the New Zealand summer, and so summer starts 70.3 Worlds last year in December, all the way through till Nice now. So it's been a long year. So I'll go back, reset, and then I'll probably do a bit of half marathon or marathon racing. Still do a bit of running racing. And then I'll get ready to race Ironman New Zealand in March next year.
I mean, the hard part coming from that part of the world is just, I remember with Cam Brown, every year he would win Ironman New Zealand, which was, March, and then try to be fit again in Kona in October. That's just such a long, long season. Do you end up taking a break halfway through, something to recharge?
We will start to now. The New Zealand calendar's changed a lot. We don't have a professional 70.3 race for Ironman anymore in New Zealand, which is a real shame.
Oh, that's too bad.
And then we lost another half distance race in Wanaka for professional. So it's quite limited pickings for racing in New Zealand over the summer now. So I'm only left with about one half distance and one full distance, I have to start sort of turning my hand to racing more overseas, which will sort of change the face of how my year looks going forward. So it is positive that I'm not going to have to do as much racing over 2 summers, but it is a shame that I don't get to race at home with the home crowds and with friends and family around as often as I'd like to.
Have you raced much in the States?
I have a little bit. It was a few years ago now. I raced in Salem, 70.3 there in Oregon, and then I raced Boulder, 70.3 as well there, and then I raced a couple of times in Canada as well.
So when you look back on this, here you are in mechanical engineering, and the next thing you know, you're traveling to Japan, and you're traveling to Europe, and you're traveling to the US. I mean, if you were a mechanical engineer right now, you wouldn't be traveling the world. You wouldn't be getting to see places that who knows if you ever would have seen this type of stuff. So this fun adventure, and knowing you can always fall back on another career down the line, you're playing with house money. It's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah, it is incredible. Albeit I'm pretty sick of taking the bike bag through an airport, but every other element of the sort of journey is rather incredible. And yeah, you're right. The amount of countries I've been to in the last sort of 8 years, and countries I'd never probably visited otherwise. I think I've been to Korea about 3 times, Taiwan a couple of times. Especially from New Zealand, Asia is very accessible, and it's not a place you might go to, especially some of the places where we race through Asia, you wouldn't typically visit as a tourist. So it's been really cool just to sort of take in a different culture. And then also you also go to America, and I've done Europe this is my 3rd year to Europe and doing all the iconic races through here. So yeah, thoroughly enjoying it.
That was very good for you, man. And when you look back at all the places you've gone, what's been your favorite?
I'm desperate for a race to come back to Japan. I can always keep my eyes out to see if Ironman's going to bring a race back to Japan. Yeah, otherwise I'm not sure. I've loved racing in France. I've raced the Alpe d'Huez Tri here before. That was pretty special. I generally pick races because they mean something to me anyway. So that's part of ticking off bucket list places at the same time. Yeah,
I've heard so many amazing things about Alpe d'Huez. The fact that you're climbing Alpe d'Huez and then running, and when you're done climbing Alpe d'Huez is unbelievable. What was your takeaway from that race?
The Europeans can ride up hills pretty fast, I can tell you that. But it's spectacular. Like the swimming in a dam in the morning, and then you don't just ride up Alpe d'Huez. I think that's probably what I thought, oh yeah, it's just one hill, but we do a few big mountains before we even get to the base of Alpe d'Huez, and then you run at altitude. And then I think my favorite, I don't think it exists in the course anymore, but one of the coolest parts of the race was we run down a downhill runway, one of those sort of, I can't remember what you call them, but running down a downhill runway is brutal for the legs, but the most amazing view over the valley as you just drop off the edge.
Wow. That is great. What do you look at as your best race so far? The race that meant the most to you?
My first win at Taupo 70.3 would have been pretty special for me. It wasn't like a monkey on the back or anything. It was just it was a special race at home to win for sure.
Right. And having 70.3 worlds in Taupo last year, that had to be pretty special for you.
Yeah, it was cool. And you could see how much it meant to all the New Zealanders to have, we must have had at least 6 male professionals on the start list. Is just crazy. You can see the depth of triathlon in New Zealand and how much it all means to us to try and get a start at a home world championships, and then just the crowds that turned out in such a small little country. There's only 4 or 5 million of us, and the crowds were just ballistic, just lining the length of the waterfront. So yeah, really proud to be from New Zealand and the sort of triathlon culture that we have, and for it to come out on show on a beautiful day in Taupo was awesome.
The cool thing about New Zealand is you got such a great heritage, not just in triathlon, but also in track and field. Growing up, did you have who were some of the people you looked up to from either track or from triathlon?
Yeah, I mean, I had Lovelock's book for sure. I've read that a few times. John Walker, Quacks,
Dixon.
Dixon, of course. And then my coach at the time when I was at high school, he was Shaw. His name was. He didn't make it at the international level. He retired young, but the amount of talent that was in New Zealand was rather extraordinary. Yeah. And then triathlon, you still had Cam Brown, obviously, the kind of the household name, the Kellogg's, the Nutrigrain man.
Yes.
And, it's cool that he's still kicking around and he's so supportive of the next generation coming through. Is pretty special. Like, he's coaching one of the local schools now, and yeah, he's still very much active in the triathlon community, even though he's not racing at a professional level anymore. He's the super supporter that we always needed. Pretty cool.
What would you be happy with at Worlds? Do you have a specific, I want to be top 10, I want to be top 15. What are your thoughts?
I want to enjoy it and have the best day I can possibly have. So anything that looks like an improvement from Ironman New Zealand from a performance perspective, I'll be really happy with. I think just the nature of the course and my first ever world champs at the full distance, it's probably going to be a case of me racing my own race and seeing where that lands me. And given the quality of the guys here, I think, you start off with really optimistic sort of goals, and then you realize, everyone here is a winner already.
Yeah.
And so I want to see where it lands me. I know I've got some skills, and I know I've made a lot of progress being in Europe and training since Ironman New Zealand. So to show off any semblance of that would be awesome.
Love it. Hey, Jack, thanks for taking time, but a pleasure to get to chat with you again.
Yes.
I'm a fan of the John Walker, Rod Dixon era as well. Every time Rod Dixon's name pops up on an email, I'm like, oh my God, that's Rod Dixon. Yeah, you guys, that was such a cool era where those guys would travel to track meets together, drive to the airport, fly together, get to the race, kick each other's butt, go back to the hotel room. One would buy beer, and that was a wonderful era along with Dick Quacks. That was a great time in New Zealand running.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Jack Moody has been our guest, everybody. Thanks so much. And Jack, have a great race in Nice. Again, everybody, Breakfast with Bob. Hold on. We will be right back.